US President Donald Trump appointed Marcy McCarthy as Director of Public Affairs at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, a U.S. Homeland Security Department. Marcy McCarthy is a strong supporter of the Biafra movement, and her appointment is seen as a boost to the cause by its followers. Dr. Ngozi Orubueze, the Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, publicly celebrated McCarthy's appointment on social media, calling it a victory for the Biafra community. The Finnish President Alexander Stubb attended a memorial seminar in Tanzania to honor former Finnish President Martti Ahtisaari. During the seminar, African speaker Dr. David Matsanga sharply criticized Finland for jailing African voices like Simon Ekpa, while praising Ahtisaari's legacy of justice and human rights. Dr. David Matsanga directly accused Finland of hypocrisy and called for justice for Biafra advocates, mentioning Simon Ekpa by name in front of global dignitaries. President Alex Stubb was visibly uncomfortable, but remained seated throughout, listening to the rebuke without leaving the event. Meanwhile, in Nigeria, customs officials intercepted explosives hidden in cartons of Qurans at the Benin border, preventing a potential disaster. However, in Anambra State, a prominent lawyer, Barrister Rolexi, and his client were assassinated in broad daylight in Anambra State, raising serious concerns about security and rule of law. The developments in the US, Finland, and Nigeria are seen as interconnected influences on the Biafra movement and Simon Ekpa's ongoing legal and political situation. The world has watched with great interest as a series of dramatic developments unfolded across the United States, Finland, and Nigeria, all deeply intertwined with the ongoing quest for Biafran self-determination. At the heart of this momentous story is the surprising appointment of a Biafran supporter, Marcy McCarthy, to a key position in United States President Donald Trump's administration. This news sent waves of excitement through the Biafran community globally. Simultaneously, Finnish President Alexander Stubb found himself in an uncomfortable diplomatic spotlight as he attended a memorial seminar in Tanzania, where Finland's actions were publicly criticized. Meanwhile, troubling reports emerged from Nigeria about a foiled terror attempt and a high-profile assassination, further compounding the complex landscape of the Biafra struggle. Let us begin by talking about the good news that sparked joy and hope among Biafrans around the world. On a bright day in the United States, President Donald Trump made a bold and unexpected move. He appointed Marcy McCarthy as the Director of Public Affairs at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, which is a vital branch of the United States Department of Homeland Security. This role is not just symbolic. It carries real influence in shaping public messaging on national security issues. And for someone like Marcy McCarthy, who has been a visible and vocal supporter of the Biafra movement, this is an immense opportunity to represent a marginalized voice at the highest level of American governance. Marcy McCarthy's unwavering support for the Biafra movement is well documented. Over the years, she has used her platform to advocate for justice, self-determination, and awareness regarding the plight of the Biafran people. Her support has never been passive. She has spoken at conferences, attended solidarity events, and even consulted with leaders of the United States of Biafra, the self-proclaimed government representing Biafra in exile. The moment her appointment was announced, Dr. Ngozi Orubueze, the Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, took to social media with a message filled with pride and celebration. In her Twitter post, she congratulated her friend Marcy McCarthy and called on all Biafrans to join in the joyous occasion. Dr. Ngozi Orabweze called Marcy McCarthy a rare breed, someone who has stood by the Biafran cause with loyalty and courage. This public show of support confirmed what many Biafrans suspected. Marcy McCarthy's appointment could be a significant turning point. It is not every day that someone who believes in the dream of a free Biafra gets to walk the halls of Washington, D.C. as a federal official. And now, with Marcy McCarthy's presence in President Donald Trump's cabinet, the Biafran movement finds itself with a rare voice at the table. The appointment has also sparked widespread discussion across political and diplomatic circles, especially in Europe and Africa. Observers are now paying more attention to the Biafra struggle, perhaps more seriously than ever before. But while this uplifting story was developing in the United States, another story was unraveling in a very different setting. Dar es Salaam, the capital of Tanzania. The Finnish President Alexander Stubb was invited to attend a memorial seminar held in honor of Martti Ahtisaari, the former Finnish president and Nobel Peace Prize laureate. Martti Ahtisaari was known worldwide for his commitment to peace and human rights. He played key roles in conflict resolution across the globe, including in Africa. President Alexander Stubb, representing Finland, gave a respectful speech about Martti Ahtisaari's legacy. He praised the late leader's efforts to bring peace and understanding among nations. But the atmosphere shifted dramatically when another speaker was called to the podium. That speaker was Dr. David Matsanga, a respected African scholar and the founder of Pan-African Forum Limited. What Dr. David Matsanga said next stunned the audience and left President Alexander Stubb visibly unsettled. Dr. David Matsanga did not mince words. He addressed the President of Finland directly, reminding everyone in attendance that while Martti Ahtisaari stood for justice and peace, the current Finnish government was actively imprisoning African voices like Simon Ekpa. Simon Ekpa is a central figure in the Biafra movement and has been detained by Finnish authorities under highly controversial circumstances. Dr. David Matsanga accused Finland of hypocrisy, saying that it was contradictory to celebrate Martti Ahtisaari's legacy while silencing people like Simon Ekpa, who are fighting for self-determination and justice. The audience, which included African leaders and diplomats from various countries, was taken aback. The boldness and clarity of Dr. David Matsanga's words sparked applause from some corners of the hall, while others remained in silence. President Alexander Stubb did not interrupt or walk out. Instead, he remained seated, perhaps recognizing the gravity of what was being said. That moment in Tanzania may very well go down in history as a turning point, where African voices spoke truth to European power on African soil. The symbolism could not be ignored. While Marcy McCarthy was rising to political power in Washington, D.C., on the wings of her support for Biafra, Finland's leader was being called out in public for jailing another Biafra supporter. The contrast was striking, and many observers began to wonder whether the pressure on Finland would now increase due to the growing international attention. Back in Nigeria, disturbing developments were also unfolding. At the Benin border, Nigerian customs officers intercepted a potentially catastrophic shipment. Hidden inside cartons labeled as containing copies of the Quran were deadly explosives. This shipment was discovered during a routine inspection, and it quickly became clear that the goal was to smuggle weapons of mass destruction into the country under religious disguise. The customs area controller, Dr. Ben Oramalugo, briefed the media and confirmed that one suspect had been arrested. The vehicle, a red Toyota, was intercepted along the Badagry-Lagos Expressway. This interception was hailed as a major success by Nigerian authorities, but it also raised troubling questions. Who was behind this dangerous plot? Was it aimed at destabilizing a particular region? Was Biafra territory the intended target? These questions remain unanswered, but what is clear is that the timing of this discovery added more weight to the fragile security situation in southeastern Nigeria, where Biafra-related tensions are already high. To make matters worse, a tragedy struck in Anambra State, which is one of the heartlands of the Biafra movement. In broad daylight, a prominent legal figure, Barrister Rolexi, was assassinated alongside his client. This brazen act of violence shocked the legal community and sent fear through the streets. Many people are now wondering whether this killing was politically motivated or if it was simply another example of the lawlessness that has taken root in parts of Nigeria. Either way, it has intensified the conversation about security and justice in the region. These three countries, the United States, Finland, and Nigeria, are now playing pivotal roles in the Biafran story. In the United States, President Donald Trump's move to bring Marcy McCarthy into his cabinet is seen as a win for freedom of expression and for the rights of marginalized peoples. In Finland, President Alexander Stubb is now under pressure to reconsider his government's handling of Simon Ekpa's case, especially after the powerful rebuke delivered in Tanzania. And in Nigeria, the discovery of explosives and the assassination of a barrister have reminded everyone that peace remains fragile and that political justice is urgently needed. What makes this moment in history even more powerful is how interconnected these events are. A single appointment in Washington sends ripples all the way to Helsinki and Lagos. A single speech in Tanzania can shake a presidency. A single shipment stopped at the border can save hundreds of lives. All these elements are woven into the fabric of the Biafran movement, which continues to fight for recognition, justice, and independence. The appointment of Marcy McCarthy is not just a political gesture, it is a message. It says that voices like those of the Biafran people are being heard at the highest levels of power. It says that there is hope, even in the face of imprisonment and persecution. It says that the dream of Biafra is no longer a whisper lost in the wind, but a growing call that is gaining international traction. For Simon Ekpa, still locked in a Finnish prison, this news may offer a ray of hope. With growing global awareness and now a Biafran ally inside the United States government, there is a real chance that his case could be brought to international forums and defended with more energy and legitimacy. People are already speculating that Marcy McCarthy's role could help drive discussions about political prisoners, human rights abuses, and the legitimacy of Biafra's quest for self-determination. As the story unfolds, the eyes of the world remain focused on these developments. More speeches will be made, more actions will be taken, more truths will be revealed. But one thing is certain: the Biafra movement has crossed a new threshold. With allies emerging in powerful places and the world beginning to take notice, this movement is no longer a fringe dream. It is a political force, and it is demanding justice, freedom, and a place in the international conversation. This is only the beginning of a new chapter, and the world will be watching every word, every decision, and every consequence that follows. As the news of Marcy McCarthy's appointment reverberated across the Atlantic, the implications began to unfold in ways that even seasoned political analysts struggled to predict. In the United States, while some of Donald Trump's loyal supporters celebrated her selection as a bold and disruptive move, others within the Republican Party raised eyebrows. Marcy McCarthy had built her political career not just on conservative American values, but on her vocal support for Biafran self-determination, an issue that had long been seen as foreign and sensitive. By installing her in a prominent cabinet position, Donald Trump had not only taken a stance that clashed with the Biden-era foreign policy of neutrality regarding internal African struggles, but he had also exposed Washington to a new kind of diplomatic pressure from Abuja. The Nigerian government wasted no time in making its feelings known. Within 24 hours of the official announcement, the Nigerian ambassador to the United States issued a strongly worded statement calling the move a disturbing departure from long-standing diplomatic protocol. The Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs summoned the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria for clarification, and social media in Nigeria erupted in a mix of anger, confusion, and speculation. Some accused the United States of actively interfering in Nigeria's internal affairs. Others feared that this appointment could embolden Biafran separatists, especially the Biafran Liberation Army and Simon Ekpa's provisional government operating from Finland. In Helsinki, the developments were equally dramatic. Simon Ekpa, still entangled in legal proceedings over his activities and facing charges of incitement under Finnish law, released a lengthy video message recorded from within the restrictions of his current bail conditions. The video, later uploaded to multiple platforms and translated into various languages, was titled "A New Dawn for Biafra." In it, Simon Ekpa praised Marcy McCarthy for her unwavering courage and declared that Biafra had finally gained a strategic voice inside the world's most powerful government. His voice was emotional, but calculated as he described her appointment as the most important diplomatic victory Biafra has ever achieved. He went further, detailing how Marcy McCarthy had met with members of the Biafran diaspora over the years, how she had lobbied silently for recognition of Biafran suffering during the Nigerian Civil War, and how she had championed human rights for southeastern Nigerians caught in the violence between Nigerian military forces and local pro-Biafra groups. Simon Ekpa called upon Biafrans worldwide to prepare for serious diplomatic steps in the coming months, indicating that his team had already drafted proposals to be sent to the United States Department of State and to Marcy McCarthy's office specifically. His message hinted at a renewed legal push for international recognition, perhaps even a formal Biafra desk at the United Nations, if the political climate shifted further in their favor. Back in Nigeria's southeast, the news hit like wildfire. For many in Imo, Abia, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Anambra states, the symbolic power of the moment was undeniable. Town hall meetings erupted in both celebration and debate. Some elders cautiously reminded younger citizens that international support was not the same as international recognition. But for thousands of youths who had followed Simon Ekpa's broadcasts, adhered to sit-at-home orders, and lived under the fear of military crackdowns, this appointment felt like a long-awaited breakthrough. Posters of Marcy McCarthy began to appear on the walls of some towns in Owerri and Aba, where she was depicted as a sister of Biafra and a bringer of light. However, not everyone welcomed the development. Several pro-Nigerian unity groups began organizing counter-rallies, warning that McCarthy's appointment would only worsen tensions in the region. Some accused Simon Ekpa of exploiting international politics for personal gain, while others worried about the possibility of increased military presence in the southeast. A few traditional rulers even called on the Nigerian government to intensify surveillance of foreign NGOs and aid organizations suspected of harboring Biafra sympathies. The European response was mixed. While Finland remained largely silent on the political consequences of McCarthy's appointment, officials within the Finnish Ministry of Justice were now under added scrutiny. The ongoing legal saga of Simon Ekpa had already polarized segments of the population. With McCarthy's rise in the US government, some right-wing Finnish politicians began pushing for more transparency around Finland's handling of the Biafra issue. A few even questioned whether Finland should reassess its extradition policies and agreements with Nigeria, fearing that it could become an accidental host to a new form of international activism. This is the end of our news update. Please click the icon on the top right corner of your screen to watch my next video. You will enjoy it. I will see you again in my next update. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye for now.